Chapter 3. The three of them moved through the darkened streets, slipping past the city walls as the palace behind them burned. Abeni kept pace beside Zuberi, muttering under her breath, "You know, if my cart hadn't broken down, I never would have met you. Fate is funny like that." Zuberi said nothing. So, of course, she kept talking. "I was looking for you. Or rather, I was looking for someone like you. My tribe made an arrangement long ago to bind our bloodline with yours. I was betrothed to an heir of your family." Zala, still catching her breath, arched a brow. "Oh, now this is interesting." Abeni ignored her. "If your family had not been destroyed, I would have been married by now. Instead, I was searching for what remained of your bloodline." Zuberi, stoic as ever, did not react. Abeni exhaled. "So, do you have anything to say?" "No." Abeni threw her hands up. "Unbelievable." Zala smirked. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no either. Abeni pointed at Zuberi. "You are impossible." He kept walking. Zala patted Abeni on the shoulder. Back in the palace, Bakari watched the flames, his hands folded behind his back. The assassination had failed. But that did not matter. Zuberi had defied the king publicly. He had made himself an enemy. And now, Bakari had the justification he needed to brand him a traitor. He turned to his waiting spies. "Find them. I want Zuberi's head, and I want the women alive." The spies bowed and vanished into the night. Bakari, once again, smirked. The game is not over. The three of them reached a safe house outside the city, one of Zuberi's hidden strongholds. Zala, still grinning, leaned against the wall, watching him. "So," she mused, "now that we're fugitives together, shall we make it official?" Zuberi barely spared her a glance. "No." Abeni, exhausted, groaned. "Zala, give up." Zala only grinned. "Never." She walked up to Zuberi, close enough that most men would have reacted. He didn't. "I will prove my worth to you, warrior. I will fight beside you, bleed beside you, and when the time comes, you will have no choice but to see me as your equal." Zuberi met her gaze, his expression unreadable. Then, after a long pause, he simply said, "We leave at dawn." Zala laughed. "Oh, I do enjoy a challenge." Abeni sighed. "I should have let my cart rot." The morning was quiet. The safe house was tucked deep into the hills, hidden beneath thick trees. Smoke from the ruined palace still lingered on the horizon. The city was in chaos, and yet, inside their small hideout, the true war had already begun. "You cannot be serious." Abeni stood in the center of the room, arms crossed, staring at Zela with a look that suggested she was one breath away from throwing something. Zela, casually sharpening her dagger, didn't even look up. "I'm very serious." "You eat like a savage." Zala grinned. "I eat like a warrior." "You ate my portion." "I ate what was available. You were too slow." Abeni turned to Zuberi, outraged. "Are you just going to let her act like this?" Zuberi, unbothered, did not look up from his map. "Eat faster next time." Abeni gasped. "Unbelievable." Zala smirked. "Oh, I like him more every day." Abeni sighed dramatically, sitting down in frustration. "You are intolerable. And you are spoiled." Abeni sat up straight. "I was raised with dignity. I was trained in courtly etiquette, politics, and the expectations of nobility. I do not live like a beast." Zala laughed. "And what did that nobility get you? A betrothal to a dead prince and a broken cart." Abeni threw a cup at her. Zala caught it, laughing harder. "Oh, I like you. You have some fight in you after all." Do not mistake my refinement for weakness, and do not mistake my strength for savagery. They glared at each other. Zuberi finally sighed, folding up his map. Enough. Both women turned to him at the same time. She started it, Abini said. She was crying about food. Zala shot back. Zuberi pinched the bridge of his nose. Both of you, focus. Zala smirked. Abeni huffed, but the war was far from over. That night, as they camped by a fire, Abeni stared at the flames, lost in thought. Zuberi, always watching, noticed. You said you were raised in nobility. Abeni glanced at him. I was. My mother was a princess. My father, a war strategist. I was taught the ways of diplomacy, but I was also taught that power is never given. It is taken. She turned to him fully. Do you think I simply wandered into your life by accident? I was searching for you, for what you represent, the bloodline of kings, a true warrior leader. Zala, lounging nearby, raised a brow. So you're saying you wanted him before you even met him? Abeni rolled her eyes. I wanted to restore what was lost. The moment my cart broke down, I had a choice. Turn back or press forward. And now, here I am, surrounded by wolves. She shot a look at Zila. Zala grinned. I take that as a compliment. Abeni sighed, turning back to Zuberi. My tribe had a plan, a marriage to the last heir of your family. But that heir was killed. And then I found you. Zuberi, as always, did not react. And? He said simply. Abeni's fingers traced the edge of her dagger. And now I have a new plan. Zala chuckled. Oh, I do love a woman with ambition. Abeni ignored her. Zuberi, you may not wish for power, but power will always find you. The question is, will you control it, or will it control you? For a moment, there was silence. Then, Zuberi stood. We move at first light. He walked away, leaving the firelight behind. Zala smoked at Abeni. He didn't say no. Abeni groaned. You are the worst. Zala winked. You love me. Back in the city, Bakari stood before a gathered crowd. Zuberi has betrayed us, he declared, his voice carrying through the streets. He seeks to bring war upon Zundari, and he has taken women of noble blood to his side, twisting them to his cause. The people whispered, uncertain. But then Bakari lifted a scroll, sealed in the king's mark. By order of the king, Zuberi is now an enemy of the empire. The guards unfold banners. Zuberi's face marked with the symbol of a traitor. The bounty was set, and now every blade in Zundari would be coming for him. By dawn, Zuberi stood on a cliffside, watching the valley below. Abeni and Zala joined him. They will hunt us now, Abeni said. They already were, Zuberi replied. Now they will simply be louder about it. Zala grinned. Then let them come. Abeni exhaled. You're both insane. Zala patted her shoulder. And you're along for the ride. Zuberi, still watching the horizon, finally spoke. It is time to strike first. Abeni and Zala exchanged a look. The air was thick with tension as the three of them moved through the dense jungle, making their way toward a hidden outpost. The city of Zundari was behind them, but its reach was long. They all knew it was only a matter of time before the first blades came for them. Night fell, and they made camp beneath the stars. The crackling fire cast long shadows, flickering over Zuberi's unreadable expression, Abeni's thoughtful gaze, and Zala's cocky smirk. You move like no other warrior I've seen, Abeni said, watching Zala stretch her limbs after another grueling day of travel. Zala smirked. I had to. Oh. Abeni raised a brow. Zala tossed a twig into the fire. My tribe does not honor women in battle. We are the daughters of warriors, meant to birth more warriors. That is our only value. Her grin was there, but something dark flickered beneath it. I was the slowest among my peers when I was young, the weakest. The boys in my tribe would mock me. My father would push me, and my mother, she hesitated. My mother refused to let me be weak. Abeni leaned in slightly despite herself. They were determined to make me worthy of a noble husband, but I did not care for husbands. I cared only to be faster, stronger, to outrun the boys who called me lesser, to silence the elders who told me I had no place among warriors. Her fingers traced the hilt of her dagger. So I trained, day and night. I outran my brothers, outlasted my cousins, and when they could no longer keep up, I fought them and won. Her smirk returned. No one could best me, not in speed, not in combat. I thought, finally, they would have no choice but to acknowledge me. She let out a bitter laugh. The elders refused. No woman will be named the village's greatest warrior. Abeni was quiet for a long moment. Then, softly she said, "That is unfair." Zala's sharp gaze flicked to her. "What was that, princess?" Abeni immediately straightened. "Nothing. You were rambling." Zala grinned. "Ah, you do have a heart." "I have nothing of the sort." "Abeni, you were feeling for me?" "I was feeling annoyed." "You were sympathizing." "You were talking too much." Zela burst out laughing. "Oh, I love this." Abeni threw a stick at her. Zuberi, as usual, said nothing. But in the firelight, there was the slightest twitch of amusement in his expression. The attack came just before dawn. They heard the sharp whistle of an arrow a second before it embedded itself in a nearby tree. Zuberi was on his feet instantly, sword drawn. Zala rolled into a defensive stance, knives gleaming. Abeni, quicker than expected, already had a dagger in her hand. "They found us faster than expected," Abeni muttered. Zala grinned. "Good. I was getting bored." The bounty hunters moved in from the shadows, 6 of them, armed and armored. Zuberi was still. Then, without a word, he moved. It was over in seconds. 2 hunters fell before they could even raise their weapons. Zala flipped over one, cutting his throat midair. Abeni, despite her noble demeanor, was precise and efficient. A dagger in the ribs, a quick flick of the wrist. Dead. The last hunter, terrified, dropped his sword and tried to run. Zuberi caught him by the collar. Zuberi held his gaze for a long moment. Then, with a swift motion, he snapped the man's neck. Silence fell. Abeni exhaled. Well, that was unpleasant. Zala wiped her blade on a fallen man's tunic. It was fun. Abeni gave her a look. "You are a menace. You love me. I truly do not." Zuberi, stepping over the bodies, ignored them both. "They will send more." He glanced toward the distant hills. "We move now." No arguments. They vanished into the jungle. Back in the city, Bakari stood before the council, his voice smooth, dangerous. The people grow uneasy. They fear Zuberi. They fear what he represents. An elder frowned. "But do they fear him enough?" Bakari smiled. "They will." The council murmured. Bakari leaned forward. "Raise the bounty. Offer land. Titles. A reward so grand that even the most loyal of men will be tempted to turn on him." The elders hesitated. Then, slowly, they nodded. Bakari sat back, pleased. Let us see how long Zuberi survives when the whole world is hunting him. They arrived at an abandoned outpost before nightfall. Abeni looked around, unimpressed. This is our great hideout. Zuberi ignored her. Zala, however, smirked. I like it. It smells like death and bad decisions. Abeni wrinkled her nose. So does your breath. Zala grinned. You wound me, princess. Zuberi stepped forward. Enough. We attack tomorrow. Abeni blinked. Attack? Bakari believes he has control. We will remind him that the battlefield is my domain. Zala grinned. Oh, I like this plan. Abeni exhaled. Of course you do. Zuberi ignored them both. Rest. Tomorrow we go to battle. Abeni and Zala exchanged a look. Zala smirked. At least, life is never boring with him. Abeni sighed. That is the problem. The fire crackled, and the battle began. The night before battle was always quiet. The outpost was hidden deep within the jungle, yet the tension in the air was thick. The bounty on Zuberi's head had doubled, and now every ambitious warrior in Zundari had eyes on him. But Zuberi was not the hunted. He was the predator. Abeni and Zala stood behind him, watching as he sketched out the next move in the dirt. Bakari is predictable, Zuberi said, his tone calm, controlled. He expects us to keep running, to fight defensively. Zala grinned. So we don't. Zuberi nodded. We strike first. His men will be stationed here. He pointed to a narrow canyon on the outskirts of Zundari, expecting us to sneak past. Instead, we attack from both sides. I take the center. Ebini frowned. You want to walk into the most dangerous position? Yes. That is insane. Zala stretched, cracking her knuckles. It's brilliant. They'll focus everything on him. Meanwhile, we'll carve through their flanks before they realize what's happening. Abeni rubbed her temples. I'm not a warrior like you two are. This is reckless. Zala smirked. This is war. Zuberi looked between them. It is decided. Neither of them argued further. The next day, they would paint the battlefield in blood. In the city, Bakari stood before his personal guards. Zuberi is a warrior. He fights with honor, with strategy, but he is still a man. He turned to his second in command. Send word to the bounty hunters. Tell them the price has tripled. And, he smirked, send my spies to spread rumors. Let the people believe that one of Zuberi's women plans to betray him. The commander hesitated. But his women are loyal. Bakari chuckled. That does not matter. The seed of doubt is enough. Even the strongest warrior hesitates when he does not know who to trust. He turned to the window, watching the city below. This time, he will fall. Morning arrived. Zuberi, as always, was composed, unshaken. Abini and Zala, however, were on edge. As they moved toward the canyon, Zala noticed Abeni's fingers twitching near the hilt of her dagger. Nervosna, princessa. Abini scoffed. Of course not. Zala grinned. Liar. Abeni huffed. If I die today, bury me somewhere beautiful. Oh, planning to die? No, I am planning for all possibilities. Zala laughed. See, that's your problem. You think too much. Just fight. Not all of us were raised as warriors. Zala tilted her head. And yet, you fight like one. Abini hesitated, but before she could respond, the ambush began. The enemy had been waiting. Zuberi strode forward without hesitation, slicing through the first attacker as if he were cutting grass. Abeni and Zala moved in opposite directions. Steel clashed, blood sprayed. Zala, fast as lightning, weaved between attackers, cutting throats before they could react. Abeni, precise and graceful, fought like a dancer. Each strike measured. each movement efficient. Zuberi charged on, and in that moment, an arrow flew toward his head. Zala moved before she even thought. She tackled Zuberi to the ground, the arrow barely missing his face. Abeni, hearing the attack, turned, just in time to see a sword swinging towards Zuberi's exposed back. She threw her dagger, lodged into the attacker's throat. Blood sprayed. Silence fell. And then Zuberi stood. "Kill them all," he ordered. The battle ended minutes later. Zuberi wiped his blade clean, his expression unreadable. Abeni and Zala, both breathless, watched him carefully. "They tried to break us," Abeni murmured. Zala smirked. "They failed." Zuberi turned to them, his voice calm. "We move at night. Bakari will not see us coming." Abeni exhaled. Zala grinned, and the bat continued. The fires of battle had barely cooled before the next move was set in motion. Zuberi, ever the strategist, wasted no time. Bakari, ever the schemer, tightened his grip. And Abeni and Zala, they were one step away from killing each other. Night fell over the jungle as Zuberi and his warriors moved in silence. The city of Zundari loomed in the distance, its walls glowing under the torchlight of Bakari's men. Zuberi's plan was ruthless in its simplicity. "We strike before dawn," he murmured, crouching beside his warriors. "Bakari believes we are still on the run. We will remind them that I do not run." Zala smirked, gripping her twin blades. "Finally, I was getting bored." Abeni sighed. "You have a problem. You have a stick up your royal ass, but here we are." Zuberi silenced them with a glance. "There is no room for error. We attack the supply routes first, burn them. Without resources, Bakari's forces will weaken. Then we move on his spies, remove his eyes." Abeni frowned. "And then?" Zuberi's voice was cold. "Then we take his head." No arguments. Back in Zundari, Bakari sat in his chamber, watching the flames dance. The reports had come in. Zuberi had survived. And worse, he was moving. Bakari's fingers tapped against his throne. So, the wolf refuses to die. His spies knelt before him. It is time to put doubt into action. Back in camp, Abeni and Zala were at each other's throats. "You almost got us killed back there," Abeni hissed, arms crossed. Zala raised a brow. "Oh, and what part of my blade slicing through enemies at record speed was almost?" "You're reckless. You do not think beyond your next fight." "And you think too much, princess. Maybe if you fought harder, instead of worrying, you'd be useful." Abeni's eyes narrowed. Zuberi, as always, ignored them. "Enough." They both snapped their mouths shut. Zuberi glanced between them, then turned toward the city. "The time for arguing is over. We move at dawn." Abeni and Zala exchanged one last glare. Neither would admit it, but deep down, they respected each other. They just hated each other too. For now, the city of Zundari stood as a monument to power and corruption. Tonight, it would burn. Zuberi's forces had cut off his lifelines. No food, no water, no reinforcements. The nobles whispered of abandoning ship. The soldiers grew uneasy, and Bakari sat on his throne, his grip tightening. But war was not won by patience alone, and treachery was already at play. The attack came at dawn. Zuberi led the charge, as always, without hesitation. Zala was a blur, weaving between soldiers, cutting them down before they even knew what hit them. Abeni cut down two men, then looked over her shoulder as she hurried down a corridor leading to the throne room of Bakari. Catching her breath, she rushes down the hall. Then, the gates fell. Zuberi stepped through the wreckage, his eyes locked on the palace. "Find Bakari," he ordered. Kill anyone in our way. No hesitation, no mercy. But in the chaos, a quick moment of realization. Where is Abeni? Deep within the palace, Bakari leaned against his throne, a smirk on his lips. Before him knelt a cloaked figure. It is done. Yes. Good. By the time Zuberi realizes, it will be too late. The figure stood, pulling back their hood. Abeni. Bakari's smirk widened. You were always too good for him. Abeni bowed her head. I only do what must be done. Bakari raised a cup in victory, but he did not notice the second figure in the shadows, watching. Zala. Zala followed Abeni through the palace corridors, her mind racing. What in the God's name are you doing? She hissed, grabbing Abeni's arm. Abeni yanked free. Let me go. Are you actually betraying him? Abeni's expression remained unreadable. I do what is necessary. Zala's fists clenched. I should cut you down right here. Abeni took a slow breath. Then she whispered, I need you to trust me. Zala froze. Abeni had never said those words before. Something was wrong. And for the first time, Zala hesitated. If this is a trick, I will kill you myself. Abeni nodded, understood. And then they moved as one. The siege was in full swing. Zundari burned. Zubieri cut through Bakari's soldiers without pause, his movements precise, unstoppable. But even in the heat of war, his mind was sharp. Something was wrong. Abeni was missing. Zala had disappeared, and the whispers of betrayal grew louder. Zuberi strode through the palace corridors, stepping over the bodies of fallen guards. Abeni is with Bakari. She betrayed him. He believed in actions, and Abeni's actions had never been that of a coward. He rounded a corner and found one of Bakari's spies bleeding out. Zuberi knelt beside him. Who gave the order? The spy choked on his own blood. The woman, she played us all. Zuberi's eyes darkened. Abeni was not a traitor. She was hunting one. Deep within the palace, Abeni stood before Bakari, her expression cold, calculated. Bakari smirked, sipping from his goblet. Clever girl, leaving Zuberi's side to join a real ruler. Abeni did not react. She simply waited. Then, behind her, a blade at Bakari's throat. Bakari froze. Zala grinned. Surprise. Abeni stepped forward, voice low. Did you really think I would betray my king? Bakari's face twisted in rage. You! Zala tightened her grip. Careful. Your blood's still inside you. I can change that. Abeni crossed her arms. You spread the rumors. You wanted Zuberi to hesitate. But you underestimated him. And you underestimated me. Bakari snarled. You think you've won. The doors burst open. Dozens of soldiers poured in. Abeni and Zala exchanged a glance. We fight? Zala asked. We fight, Abeni confirmed. The first wave of soldiers charged. Abeni moved like a viper, striking with precision, dodging effortlessly. Zala was a storm, slashing through enemies with wild, brutal speed. Back to back, they fought as one. Not bad, princess, Zala grunted, cutting down the guard. Abeni blocked an incoming strike. You're tolerable. Zala laughed. That almost sounded like a compliment. Abeni didn't answer. She was too busy driving a dagger into Bakari's second in command. Blood spilled, but more enemies came. Zala grinned. Think Zuberi's figured it out yet? Abeni smirked. He's already here. The doors shattered, and there he stood. Zuberi, blooded, unstoppable. His eyes met Abini's. No words were needed. Even if I die, there is no way you will ever bring back the Zun. Bakari's words were cut short as Zala and Abini drive steel into the sides of his neck. Bakari was dead, but the war was far from over. The flames of battle had not yet died, but the war had shifted. Bakari's body lay crumpled on the marble floor, his lifeblood staining the once opulent throne room. Zuberi stepped over him without a glance. The dead did not concern him. The living, however, were another matter. Abeni and Zala stood side by side, bloodied but unbroken. They had fought well, but now came the true battle, the throne, the traitors, and the two women who refused to yield. Zuberi walked through the shattered palace doors, his warriors flooding in behind him. The nobles, those who had sided with Bakari in fear or greed, knelt, their faces pale. Your rule ended with Bakari's last breath. Zuberi declared, his voice cold, absolute. You will answer for your choices. One noble, desperate, lunged forward. Mercy, my king. The spear found his throat. Zuberi did not flinch. There is no mercy for cowards. Silence followed. None dared to speak. None dared to move. The city of Zundari had changed hands, but the throne now belonged to a man who would not forgive nor forget. Deep within the city, in the ruins of Bakari's private chambers, a small gathering of nobles and generals whispered, Bakari is dead. Zuberi has taken the throne. What do we do? One noble, a sharp-eyed woman with a serpent smile, leaned forward. We do what we always do. She placed a single dagger on the table. We plan his downfall. The shadows had not been wiped away. They had merely retreated, waiting. Abeni and Zala stood on one of the palace balconies, watching the city below. You did well today, Abeni admitted, arms crossed. Zala snorted. Did you just compliment me? Don't get used to it. Zala grinned, stretching her sore muscles. I should have gotten to Bakari first. Then he would have died screaming. Abeni's lips curled. Sloppy. Abeni narrowed her eyes. You really don't know when to quit, do you? Zala smirked. No. A single spark of unspoken challenge passed between them. Then, the sound of boots on stone. Zuberi stood behind them, watching, waiting. Abeni and Zala both straightened, tension still crackling between them. Zuberi simply turned and walked away. He knew they would follow, for now. But one day, they will settle this, and only one would win. The war for Zundari was over, but Zuberi's true battle had just begun. The throne was his, but his enemies were not yet buried. Abeni and Zala had fought beside him, but their rivalry had only deepened. And deep in the ruined palace, secrets waited to be uncovered. The court had gathered, a mix of cowards, opportunists, and survivors. Zuberi sat on the throne, his presence alone enough to silence the room. His voice was calm, absolute. Those who served Bakari will atone. Those who prove their loyalty will be spared. The nobles glanced at one another, calculating. One stepped forward, a tall, narrow-eyed man named Jengo. Great king, we only wish to serve. Bakari's rule forced us into submission. We had no choice. Zuberi said nothing. Then he stood. He stepped down from the throne, slow and deliberate, stopping just in front of Jengo. The noble visibly stiffened. Zuberi held his gaze. I do not punish men for surviving. Jengo exhaled in relief. But I do punish liars. Steel flashed. Django gasped. A dagger lodged in his gut. Zuberi let him drop to the floor. The silence that followed was heavier than death. The rest of you will choose wisely. No one argued. No one dared. Later that night, Zuberi entered Bakari's ruined study, searching for the past. What he found was much worse. Old scrolls, maps, marked territories. He traced the ink with his fingers, his expression unchanging. Abeni and Zala entered behind him, expecting little. Then they saw the maps, and their breath hitched. This, Abeni whispered, this is not just Zundari's lands. Zala's eyes narrowed. This is an empire. 36 territories, each one either stolen, splintered, or ruled by men who did not recognize Zuberi's bloodline. Abeni shook her head. We thought reclaiming Zundari was the end. It was barely the beginning. Zala let out a low whistle. Looks like we'll be busy for the next few years. Abeni shot her a glare. You are taking this lightly? No. Zala smirked. I'm taking it as a challenge. Zuberi rolled up the maps, unfazed, unshaken. We start tomorrow. Abeni and Zala exchanged looks. You are truly insane, Abeni muttered. Zala grinned. You say that like it's a bad thing. Morning came with unexpected visitors. A warrior patrol returned to the palace, dragging a woman in chains. Zuberi stepped forward, looking down at the captured figure. She was short, dark-skinned, with striking green eyes and thick, long dreadlocks. Her body was wrapped in desert robes, layered for both battle and beauty. She did not kneel. She did not tremble. Instead, she grinned. So, this is the great Zuberi. Her voice was smooth, teasing, fearless. You are either my captor or my savior. I have yet to decide. Abeni folded her arms. Who is she? A warrior spoke. She calls herself Eshe. She was found sneaking into the city, unarmed. Zala raised a brow. Unarmed? Why? Isha's smile widened. Because I do not need weapons to get what I want. Zuberi studied her, silent. Isha studied him back. Something unspoken passed between them. Abeni frowned. I don't like her. Zala smirked. That means I probably will. Zuberi remained unmoved. Take her to the chambers. Isha tilted her head. Am I a prisoner then? Zuberi turned away. That depends on what you are truly here for. Ishi laughed. Then I suppose we shall find out, my king.